Alright, we are now officially live, everybody. 1 second. I'm just going to need to... The first thing I'm just going to do is just upload this real quick. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, we're ready. So we are now officially live for the current weather ongoing across much of the U.S. The first thing we were talking about is the main thing we were talking about today is this big time line of storms that we are seeing across much of Louisiana in the Mississippi regions. This is going to be including Baton Rouge, Alexandria, even Jackson, Mississippi is under a tornado watch from this system. This huge line of storms that is going all the way from Galveston all the way up in the portions of northern Louisiana, which is going to bring strong winds and embedded tornadoes. And we are already seeing many tornado warnings right now, with the first one down here, which is definitely heading in that general vicinity for Lake Charles. Lake Charles is already on the border of a severe thunderstorm warning with 70 miles an hour, considerable winds, which is pretty nuts with this system. And a tornado warning that is in effect for areas like Vinton and Orange regions that are under this tornado warning. We are definitely seeing that circulation. We do have a definite circulation there near Echo and Little Cypress that I am seeing. Nothing on CC. It's not extremely strong, but it's definitely pretty tight there. There's a pretty tight area of rotation. So if you're on these areas, definitely take shelter. There is a chaser on this named Jaden Pappenheim. It is dark though, so you can't see much in that area. And then we do have another tornado warning up here with many more kinks in this line with these embedded tornado potential. None of these are on the ground currently, but they do have the potential to touch down here. This tornado warning is down close to Leesville areas. You can definitely see that area of rotation. If that does tighten up, it will produce a tornado because there's definitely a real kink, a real hook echo with this storm heading towards Fullerton and Westport. This includes southwestern Rapids Parish and southeastern Vernon Parish in portions of Louisiana. And then we do have another tornado warning up here for this northern part of the storm too, with a few circulations that I am seeing on radar. What'd you say there? It's going to be... Sorry, I don't understand what you said. But, hello, Eastern Missouri, yes. If anybody doesn't even have any questions, I will answer them. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. We still do have this definite circulation here heading towards Vinton. If you are in Vinton, Louisiana, this is actually a pretty populated area. I mean, it's a small town, but it's pretty populated. I would definitely be taking shelter. This coupled of rotation. I'm noticing that it's weekend, so there's not too much rotation actually, but There still is that definite kink in the line that I am noticing there with that system. Definitely there over near Echo. They just extended that, so they updated that tornado warning there. Vinton, maybe even Sulphur in the future. Lake Charles, you do need to be watching the system very, very closely. You said this is the last thing we needed after that big ice storm down there. Yeah, definitely. That was a big ice storm, but luckily, this area that's getting impacted by this is not the same area that got impacted by the ice storm. The area that got impacted by the ice storm was more towards these areas up north, up here into Texas, northern Louisiana kind of areas, way northern, and up into northern Mississippi kind of in that area. Not as much down here where these warnings are, didn't really get impacted by any ice. Mostly rain down in these areas. So yeah, definitely not good if that was overrunning, but really not really much correlation there. But yeah, another tornado warning is now in effect here. Pretty close to DeRidder, Louisiana. This is heading towards Pitkin and Sugartown and Raids in Louisiana right now. Take a look at rotation. There's not too much rotation, but I am definitely noticing a little bit of a couplet there down near Churchman Road. This does include northeastern Beauregard Parish, southeastern Vernon Parish, and north central Allen Parish. Said add a new warning just came out from Shreveport. Yeah, I think that's just the one I'm mentioning right now. Unless that's Lake Charles. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's also severe thunderstorm warnings up here pretty close to Natchitoches. With 60 miles an hour winds from this. Not as much kinks. The line is a little bit weaker down up here. There's a lot less instability up here, so it's a little bit weaker. But there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect in Winfield, Montgomery regions. All right, we have a new tornado warning now in effect. This thing's heading straight for Lake Charles. So Lake Charles, I'd be getting ready now. Definitely getting prepared. This line's on the way. There's no tornado warning in Lake Charles yet, but that could change in the future as this is definitely heading in that general vicinity there. So if you aren't Lake Charles, definitely be prepared. If you're in Sulphur is definitely pretty populated there. I would be taking shelter right now as a tornado warning. That red box indicating a tornado warning is now in effect for Sulphur. So definitely be taking shelter in that area. If you take a look at the rotation, it's not too significant, but I definitely see where they're going there in issuing that tornado warning. If you're in Vinton, still remain in your safe spot. Let's take a look at this. Definitely some strong winds associated with this line. Look back at this over here. We do have a new tornado warning now in effect here for, wow, there's just tons of tornado warnings that are in effect right now. We do have a new tornado warning here. There's like so many red boxes. Wow. For Simpson, Clifton Crossing, this is a tornado warning in effect. With a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Slagley, Louisiana. This is right on the radar site. But a very tight area of rotation there. That might even be on the ground almost. That's a very tight couplet. And then we do have another tornado warning. Okay, this is observed. So we do have a confirmed tornado located near Cravens, or 8 miles southeast of Fort Polk, moving east at 40 miles an hour here. So if you are in Cravens or Fullerton, Louisiana, this is not a very populated area, but definitely some towns and some people that live in these areas. We do have a tornado on the ground. This is a pretty tight couplet. Yeah, I can definitely see that CC. I wish I would have saw it earlier, but that's right there. That CC as it pushed towards the east. It's kind of fading out now, so that might have just been a brief spin up there, but still remain in your safe spot. A lot of storms. Oh, hello. Thanks for tuning in. I haven't seen you here in a while. Yeah, definitely been a minute. Definitely noticing a little bit more rotation here in our big woods. Heading towards Sulphur. If you're in Sulphur and Vincent, remain in your safe spot. Watching this, okay, it is starting to tighten a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's tornado on the ground. That's definitely a little bit worrisome near Toomey. That might just be a radar. That might just be a glitch. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely still a little bit. Okay, that's a pretty strong kink, a pretty strong hook I go there. I mean, look at that. So if you're on Toomey, this thing is heading towards the east. Anywhere in these areas need to be in their safe spot right now, from Vinton down to Ged and Chepeake. I'm not sure if this is a tornado on the ground or not. Probably not, but remain in your safe spot as it's definitely a pretty pretty strong storm. Said I was a mod for you for a bit, but I stepped back. Yeah. Took a mental break. Yeah, I've not been doing much streams recently either, though. The weather, it's been a while since I've done much in the way of live streams. I did like an AFK one not too long ago, but besides that, not a lot of streams for a long time. Live streams. I did like an AFK. Jeez, what a cough. Sorry about that. Do you think this will end as a? Do I think this will end as a derecho? No, I don't think this. I don't think so. This doesn't have derecho qualifications. It's a strong line of storms, but it's not really derecho like. And I don't. I mean, it may be possible. It's gonna last. See, it's not a derecho because it needs to have catastrophic, very strong winds with it, consistently with a lot of damage reports. I don't think it's going to have that because it's not an extreme. It's just a slight risk of severe weather. It's not going to have that extreme winds from it. It will be long lasting enough probably, but I don't think it's going to become a derecho due to the fact that it's not strong enough of a line. But it's definitely going to progress into a lot of regions. Looks like we already have another observed tornado. So this one was on the ground here too, near Simpson and Clifton Crossing. So definitely some new observed tornadoes that we've been seeing. But these look like these were brief spin-ups and they're not on the ground anymore. It's very brief. They touch down, do a little bit of damage, and then they pick back up. That's what happens with these tornadoes when they're associated with lines. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. If you see those little white boxes, these are just the Y'all watches that Ryan Hall Y'all issues. I'm probably gonna turn them off just because no, I'll keep them on because they're pretty helpful. But these aren't real official tornado warnings. It just kind of gives you a heads up before no warnings issued. I do see why this one is issued. I would definitely be weather aware in Reeves and Longville. There's no tornado warning right now, but I am noticing a little bit of rotation. There's no kink in this, but there is a little bit of rotation developing, so I'm definitely watching that. Still many tornado warnings in effect, including areas like Pitkin, Fullerton, Union Hill, Simpson, Clifton Crossing, Lewistown, all in parts of Louisiana. This could make it to Alexandria, Louisiana in the future, so we'll have to be watching that. Definitely be weather aware over there in Alexandria. This line isn't quite to Alexandria yet, but it could be in the future. Okay, that's likely probably on the ground there. There's a very tight couplet of rotation here. Just around this isn't impacting any towns right now. This is a very, very rural region, but definitely could be impacting some houses as it moves towards the east. So if you do look at this couplet of rotation that we do right there, I would definitely be taking shelter as I'm watching that. Heading back over here to Lake Charles, it is definitely looking a lot more, I mean, at least the line is looking a lot more disorganized in Lake Charles, but it's definitely some pretty strong storms with some strong winds, and the rotation could pick up again. So we're definitely watching that, but remain in your safe spot in Sulphur and Vinton areas. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. You said, I know from one of the warnings that this line did produce damaging. Yeah, there was some of that definitely towards Dallas and Fort Worth earlier. That wasn't today, but that was yesterday, maybe last night, I'm pretty sure. It produced some damaging winds. I wasn't awake. I don't think I was up to really see it, but yeah. Check back up on these storms up here. Wow, there's just so many warnings still in effect, all the way from these areas down here all the way up here. Many warnings. We now have another extended warning towards Comrade and Flatwoods areas. Includes Highway 8 in portions of western Louisiana, northwestern Louisiana. Those areas are under this warning, so take shelter. There's definitely some strong winds with this, a little bit of rotation. It's still broad, and it's still weak, but it's definitely be in your safe spot. Yeah, it will definitely last into Florida. It's going to weaken. I mean, it's definitely going to be strong by the time it makes it through into New Orleans. But if you do notice, it's going to fade a little bit by the time it gets to areas like Pascagoula, Mobile, and Pensacola. Still will pose a tornado threat, but it will, due to the instability, the daytime instability will kind of go away once we get into the overnight hours, so it will kind of weaken a little bit in the morning in these areas, but it'll resurge once we get more of that daytime heating. So once it makes it to Tallahassee and Jacksonville, we will have another tornado threat potential in Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and Panama City. Definitely a little bit of rotation there near Comrade. Still that pretty strong, tight area. Still a pretty tight area of rotation near Cora, Afmon, Walding, Lewiston, over there that they do have that tornado warning currently in effect for. They did actually just now issue that for this pretty tight couplet right there that is moving towards the east. I wouldn't be surprised if that's on the ground, but it's just not hitting anything. Maybe it's not on the ground. I'm not sure, but it's definitely pretty tight. I kind of wish that the National Weather Service wasn't just issuing a bunch of tornadoes on top of each other and instead was just issuing one big warning. I thought that would make it a little bit easier instead of just putting 20 different warnings all on top of each other. But if you're in any of these red boxes, make sure you're in your safe spot. You said, gosh, if it was 10 degrees warmer. Yeah, honestly, it would probably 20 degrees warmer would make it more towards severe weather for us. It is February 14th, so it's pretty rare. You really need a lot of instability and moisture to impact us. But yeah, you're definitely right there. I mean, it's February 14th. I imagine. I mean, the fact that it's even raining right now, you'd think it'd be snowing. So, yeah. But it's a good thing we're not dealing with that right now. Well, I hope we won't have anything till at least the springtime. We have Missouri tornado drill at 11 a.m. Yeah. Guess they're going to be starting that back up again. All right. They've started to reduce the amount of tornado warnings. There's a little bit less kinks in the line, but we do have some very strong winds still occurring across areas like Pitkin moving towards the east. But we do have these tornado warnings getting closer and closer towards Alexandria areas. Definitely not seeing much in the way of rotation right now, so it looks like all of those warnings have lifted. I meant all those tornadoes have lifted. They extend the watch of the time of watch number 5, tornado watch. Well, there's only one watch in effect right now, so I think this is watch. No, this is watch number 6. Watch number 5 is expiring because all of the storms have passed watch number 5's area. So that's probably gonna expire right now. But watch number 6 is still up until 2 in the morning. Okay, a tornado warning is now in effect for Lake Charles metro area. If you're on Lake Charles, make sure to be in your safe spot as a tornado warning is currently in effect. With this little kink we do have it in the line, it's definitely a pretty tight area of rotation that we do have right here. So definitely make sure you are in the same spot. This is the place I'm going to be very, very well focusing on as this heads towards the east. So if you are in Lake Charles, Prairie Land, University Place, all the main town areas of Lake Charles, this is a pretty populated area. You do need to be in your safe spot right now. Lake Charles Regional Airport. Take shelter immediately as a tornado warning is in effect. And this is also going to bring some very strong winds. All right, we're going to lead our focus towards that. I'm going to take a 2-minute break or so. I will be back in a few minutes. I just got to use the bathroom. All right. Oh wow, 6 viewers. All right, we are back, everybody. That was just a quick break. So we are back. Here, 1 second. All right, there we go. Alrighty. So the storm warning is still in effect for Lake Charles. It looks like the main part of the storm is going to stay just barely to the south of Lake Charles, is what I am thinking. Yeah, just barely to the south, but it's still going to impact a pretty residential area, and this thing is heading right for the Lake Charles International Airport. This is definitely a pretty tight area of pretty tight couplet here. This is around State Route 108 right now. Definitely a very, very noticeable storm. Wow, yeah. Look at those 78 miles an hour on the, or 77 miles an hour on the outbound. Just a little bit weaker on the inbound winds. See, no tornado on the ground is what it's showing right now, but that definitely could change as this is a pretty tight area of rotation. So you're definitely watching that. So make sure you are in your safe spot if you are in Lake Charles. If you do live near Lake Charles Regional Airport, University Place, any of those areas in the Lake Charles area. Hello, Rain Moves. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Still watching this area of rotation here towards Lake Charles. It is definitely pretty tight. I'm definitely a little bit concerned about this. We'll see what it does in the next scan. It does look like it's weakened a little bit. Well, we will see. Sulfur, remain in your safe spot. Okay, there we go. Next scan. I'm definitely noticing more kinks potentially up north here near Lake Charles that I'm definitely watching. And some strong winds with this system. Let's see. No update in the velocity scan yet. We'll take a look back at that in a minute. Let's look back at these tornado warnings up here, pretty close to Alexandria. Definitely noticing some more kinks down to the south. Still some severe thunderstorm warnings in effect near Reeves. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so I do think this is one of the main things I am looking at. Is this, if you see this little couplet right here, it's kind of on the edge of that tornado warning. I wouldn't be surprised if this area gets tornado warned in the future near Westport here. I would definitely remain in your safe spots. There's some more tighter areas of rotation, and plus right here that we do have a tighter area of rotation, which does correlate with what it's showing on the, yeah, I do think this is about to get warned probably here in a minute. Lake Charles isn't too conservative with their warning, so I'll probably warn that. Not much up north, but if over in these areas like Westport, Union Hill, I would remain or I would take shelter, maybe even towards Glenmora in the future. We do have this area of rotation really close to Westport here that we do have currently that I am watching. It doesn't say anything's on the ground right now, but definitely be watching this as there's two kinks that do definitely have some areas of rotation. It's this one and this one right here. All right, if we take a look back at the Lake Charles recent scan, it's definitely a lot stronger on those inbound winds versus those outbound winds. The inbound winds are definitely a lot stronger, which shows that it's still quite a weak couplet of rotation. But it is tight. It is tight, though. That's what I did want to mention. It is tight. So if it does strengthen, then it's going to become a tornado pretty quickly. So definitely remain in your safe spot if you are in this area heading towards Lake Charles. Take a look back at Jaden Pappenheim's stream. Wow, a lot of people watching that. Nothing much right now. He's heading kind of away from it towards Lake Charles. We'll see what the update shows, but this is definitely looking a little bit concerning here. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. All right. Let's take a look back at the updated scan real quick. Let's see. There we go. The new update on the velocity. Just still those very strong inbound winds. If this strengthens right here, see those outbound winds? If that strengthens, we'll be looking at a pretty significant situation here because this is a very populated region. Let's hope that does not happen. This is heading towards a pretty populated area right now of Lake Charles, so remain in your safe spot. Besides that, there's some very, very strong winds. If you do look at those blues, that's indicating winds above 60 miles an hour. So that is some very, very strong winds associated with that. I don't think that's a tornado yet, no. So nothing's on the ground right now, but definitely watch as the conditions are very conducive for tornadoes. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, that's strengthened a lot on the recent scan. Yeah, this is not looking good. Oh, geez. Yeah, if you are in Lake Charles, get to your safe spot now. This is definitely strengthened a little bit more on those outbound winds, like I was talking about. When these two things circulate right here, these blues are the outbounds, and those greens and browns are the blues are the inbounds, and the greens and browns are the outbound winds. And when those collide, it produces a tornado there. This is circulating right now, and this is heading towards the east, towards a very populated area, Lake Charles Regional Airport, where the National Weather Service is actually located. Prairie Land, Lake Charles, and I bet the National Weather Service in Lake Charles is probably going to take shelter actually now, and they'll relay it to another radar, to another National Weather Service, I meant, as this thing's heading right for them. It's definitely strengthened. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tornado on the ground. It's a pretty tight area of rotation that I am watching right now. Definitely some very strong winds there, too. Look at that bow echo we are seeing from this, indicating some very strong winds. All right. For some reason, when I check my live stream on YouTube, it looks a little bit glitchy. My screen just looks a little bit lagged. Maybe it's not, maybe it is, I don't know. Kind of hard to tell. So the updated scan is definitely a good sign. It's really bow. It's really just bow echoing out. I mean, a lot of that hook is kind of away. The it's weakening a lot. Is what I'm saying. It's more wind back now. Remain your safe spot. Definitely remain your safe spot. There's still the potential for rotation, but it's definitely broadened out a lot more, and it's just really posing. Still remain your safe spot. It's still tornado warning, but it's very posing a very strong damaging wind risk now. Maybe even 70 miles an hour over winds over Gray Plantation Golf Course. So definitely some very strong winds that are occurring with this system. Let's see, new yaw watch issue. Let's look at that. Not much, but a little bit. If you're in Oberlin, definitely stay safe. Okay, definitely more kinks in the line that I am noticing now here near Glen Mora. This line is approaching Alexandria. It's pretty weak near Alexandria, but I am watching it. We do have a little bit of rotation here over near Boyce that I am watching. It's nothing too insane, but I'm definitely watching it. Up north of Alexandria. Now, for these kinks in the line down here, let's take a look at this. We do have a little bit of rotation here near Calcasieu. It's not very tight. It's definitely broad, but I am watching that. Same thing over here near Union Hill. So, yeah. Nothing on the ground right now, but we are definitely watching this system. Alright, sorry about that. Still watching these, tracking these storms over here. There is a new yaw watch medium tornado confidence here and over near Cameron, Louisiana that I am watching. Really close to the coast of Louisiana. That is definitely a more tighter tornado signature. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets warm near Calcasieu Lake. With that area of rotation that I am watching there. Look at that. Yep, definitely some rotation there. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets warned. There's not really much of a hook echo with it, much of a kink, but that is definitely showing some signs of a tightening of rotation. Wow, so we are watching this. Still, it is very strong here south of and near Lake Charles. Very strong bow echo. Look at that thing heading towards the National Weather Service in the Lake Charles Regional Airport. Wow, that is just extremely strong. A lot of that tornado potential weakened a little bit. It's still there. Maybe even on the northern side, it's starting to develop now. This might be a sign of something bad in the future. But besides that, we've got a very strong bow echo of very strong winds. Look at these winds. We're looking at 70 miles an hour wind gusts with this across areas like Gray Plantation Golf Course, West Gauthier Road. Very strong winds. If anybody does have any questions, feel free to ask. Looking back at the system, very, very strong winds. It is tightening a little bit, so I'm still watching tornado potential with this. We're right on the radar site now, so it's going to be a little bit contaminated. But it's just showing up to 80 miles an hour winds near the Lake Charles Regional Airport. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, as it's really echoed out. And that big bow echo right there, look at that little thing. Very, very strong winds from that. Wow. Oh, if you are over here near Woodworth and Forest Hill, I would be remaining in their safe spot. We do have a few kinks here, one over here and one over here, that do pose some tornado potential with them. Nothing's on the ground right now, but we have a lot of kinks in the line that do pose a risk of tornado potential. This may be extended in the future towards Woodworth, so I would take shelter there. I am watching Alexandria, but it's not looking too significant right now in Alexandria. A little tad bit of rotation near Boyce, but not too bad. Okay, yeah, not much down there near Cameron anymore. Wow, look at that. Just huge bow echo impacting Lake Charles. Very, very, very strong winds associated with this. We're looking at 80 miles an hour winds potentially in the middle of this thing. So this thing is echoed out and is producing some very, very strong winds on the southern side of Lake Charles. Wow. Man. Whoops, looks like my camera turned off for some reason. There we go. So, yeah, very, very well bow echoed out. I don't know if they're going to extend a tornado warning with this. It's not looking like they might not. They might just issue a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm not sure. I am watching that. I do think this should extend a tornado warning just because of the fact that this thing echoed out into some extremely strong winds and could still pose tornado risk. But man, oh man, very strong winds over near Prairie Land. I bet it's gusting there in University Place. These areas are probably seeing one of the strongest storms they've seen in a while. Still watching these kinks in the line over near Woodworth. Nothing on the ground right now. Definitely a pretty cool early season event that we are getting right now across these areas. All right. So what I'm noticing is that Lake Charles isn't extending much of these tornado warnings. I don't know if they relate it to a different office, because I'm not seeing any extension to these warnings, and that's getting me to think that Lake Charles probably took shelter because of the warning was reaching their area. It kind of passed through, and this is a very, very strong echo, and I'm watching areas near Greenwich Village of that real tornado potential that is definitely possible there near Greenwich Village. Very, very strong winds associated with this too. It is showing some extremely strong winds, and I definitely see that. Okay, there we go. They just updated everything. Either that was just a glitch or everything just updated all at once. So we just got a 0,000 warning update with 70 miles an hour winds across this massive warning going from Cameron all the way up to Elton areas. So a lot of warning, said Alan Crow. Quite a night for Louisiana. Yeah, definitely quite the night in Louisiana. Quite an early start. They're probably like, man, it's February and we're already seeing some severe weather down here. But yeah, very strong winds. Lake Charles is seeing quite the night right now with these strong winds. And tornado warning that is now extended. So if you're in Hayes, Iowa, I don't know why this town's called Iowa, but Iowa, Louisiana, you do need to be taking shelter right now as a tornado warning is currently in effect. Homewood, not just are you going to see the potential for a tornado, but some extremely strong winds associated with this. And we do not have a tornado warning in effect. If you are in Alexandria, make sure to be taking shelter now as a tornado warning is in effect. This isn't on the ground, but this means the conditions are favorable for a tornado. So do take shelter now if you do live in the Alexandria area, as a tornado warning is currently in effect. Not seeing too much nuts in the way of tornado, but there is some couplets to where I do understand why they issued the warning. So definitely remain in your safe spot if you do live in Alexandria. And a new tornado warning is issued if you're in areas like Glenmora, Oakdale. The areas I was talking about should have been warned, are now under this tornado warning that is in effect. So, yep, tornado warnings all the way from Oakdale all the way up to Glenmora, where we do have a few couplets that aren't on the ground. Okay, this actually does say, this says it's an observed, so a confirmed tornado was located near Glenmora. So I guess someone reported a real tornado here. So if you're on these areas, I guess a tornado was actually on the ground. I didn't notice much on CC, but I guess there was a CC drop somewhere. It's very, very contaminated, so it's very hard to tell. I'm not seeing much in the way of tornado. I understand what they mean saying there was a tornado on the ground. There probably was, as it went through Glenmora. Someone reported it, and it might have lifted by now, because these are brief spin-up tornadoes. They could lift very quickly. But there's a real chance that kind of lifted now. But I am watching that. So remain your safe spot in Glenmora, Oakdale, Woodworth, and the city of Alexandria needs to be taking shelter. Remain in their safe spot. If you are in Chalkley, Iowa, Hayes, make sure you are in your safe spot. We might have an area of rotation. This may be a tornado on the ground on the northern part. See, the northern part of this bow echo might actually have a tornado on the ground. If that isn't contamination and that is real, then that's got to be a tornado on the ground. Not sure, but I'm watching that near Harbor. All right, 1 second. So yeah. Look back up here up north. All right. Alexandria, remain your safe spot. I don't think this really needs to be tornado warned near Alexandria, but any kinks in the line or any spin of tornadoes could occur, so I see why there's a warning. So just make sure you are in the basement in Alexandria. Glenmore, Oakdale, make sure you are remaining in your safe spot. If you are in Iowa or Hayes, or make sure you are taking shelter. Chalkley or Homewood. We'd have this definite bow echo moving east with some very, very strong winds. That's gotta be a tornado. I mean, that is so tight over near Harbor. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. I mean, I'm not looking. The radars, maybe it's just a glitch because the radar doesn't look too favorable, but I am watching that. I mean, there's nothing on CC, and it's a populated area, so if there was a tornado on the ground, it would show up on CC. So maybe there's not a tornado, but definitely remain in your safe spot as there's still tornado potential with this and some very, very strong winds. Yeah, quite the storm here. If you guys didn't also notice, there must be a fire going on or something down in parts of this rural area in Louisiana. As if you look at this radar right here, this is like smoke being shot up. That is still occurring. Wow, very, very strong winds. This is showing over Homewood. We're seeing almost 80 miles an hour gusts. Looks like that whole rotation thing was just a glitch, and there's not much in the way of tornadic rotation. But definitely still remain in your safe spot. If anybody doesn't have any questions, feel free to ask. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired. New tornado warning actually in effect here. Oberlin, Mamau, and Pine Prairie are now in a tornado warning. Radar indicates tornado warning if you are in that area. Make sure to take shelter as we do have a few areas of rotation. Still remain in your safe spot here close to Glenmore and maybe even Turkey Creek. I would be taking shelter now. Cocodrie Lake, make sure you are taking shelter if you are in those areas. As we do have many kinks in the line with tornado potential. Definitely one over here near Beaver. Alexandria not looking too crazy. We do have a little bit of rotation showing up in the back side of this thing, but nothing too wild. Metal skill discussion has just been issued. For severe threat was maximized in parts of south central Louisiana for the next couple of hours, and a north to south oriented QLCS with embedded mesovortices, with at least one or two brief tornadoes have accompanied these circulations. And some locally enhanced wind damage, and still some tornado risks are possible with this line. Most probable peak tornado intensity 100 to 130 miles an hour and peak wind gusts 55 to 70. Okay, look at that. Over here near Turkey Creek, Cypress Creek, we've got a definite kink in the line. I'm watching this pretty significantly there for a potential tornado. If you're on Turkey Creek and Pine Prairie, make sure you are in your safe spot. We'll see what the velocity update shows. Tornado warning in effect for Pollock. Make sure you're in your safe spot there. There's this big bow echo is starting to weaken now, but that might allow for more tornado potential now because we are seeing a few more kinks in the line now near Iowa. The wind threat is starting to weaken a little bit. There's still some very, very strong winds associated with that. No question about that. And we are noticing a little bit of rotation showing up near Bon Air now that I am watching. Neutral warning now extended towards Pine Prairie. So for that area I was talking about with many kinks in the line near Turkey Creek is now tornado warned. So if you are in Turkey Creek, Marksville, Cottonport, Bunkie, you do need to be taking shelter. This is not too much populated areas, but there's quite a bit of it. So definitely some population there. And more areas of rotation starting to strengthen. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these areas get a tornado in the future. So definitely take shelter here in Cheneyville in this red box area. Marksville, Cottonport, Bunkie. Tornado warning remains in effect in Oberlin and Eunice. A little bit of rotation showing up near Salu. Yeah, and still some severe thunderstorm warnings. Anyone in this line could see 60 to 70 miles an hour winds. Alexandria is now in the main part of the storm, so the tornado threat is looking like it's diminished mostly in Alexandria. Just a very strong storm with some strong winds in Alexandria, 60 miles an hour winds potentially in Alexandria there. But besides that, a normal thunderstorm with some strong to severe winds, but nothing tornado-wise in Alexandria, which is good. But areas like Marksville, Bunkie are not the same picture with some strong winds but tornado potential. So watching these areas near Foreman's Hall, Iowa, I am noticing a little bit of rotation here near Herb Harris Road. It's very tight, but it is a little bit weak. I am watching that, though, for that real tornado potential. Not sure if that's a CC or not, but I am watching it. You said. Do I think 100 degrees is quite possible this summer? I don't think the temperature of 100 degrees will be possible in your area. That would be absolutely nuts. But it is definitely possible this summer. It's very hard to tell, as summer is very, very far away. But there's definitely that potential for some very, very warm weather. And even heat indexes up to 100 degrees there. Obviously, that doesn't happen very often, but it's happened. It would be one day that it would happen in northern Wisconsin. But besides that, it's definitely possible out there, rainbows. Okay, I'm noticing a little bit of a tighter kink in this line, a little bit of a tighter couplet of rotation here in the Nebraska and Clearwater areas. I'm not sure if that's a tornado or not. It's mostly just clutter on the debris signatures. But a lot of kinks in the line here with tornado potential, so take shelter. Tornado potential looks to be pretty weakened near Iowa and Hayes, as there's not much kinks in the rotation. A little bit near Foreman's Hall, but really not much. Just some strong winds with this. Strong winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour in Jennings, Cameron, Hayes, Welsh areas. Then the more of the kinks in the line are over here. A little bit of rotation showing up in your Clearwater, so definitely take shelter. You said very well. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, that's probably pretty high up there. It's high end. Anything's possible, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But it definitely could be a warm summer up there in northern Wisconsin. Still gonna be pretty cold up there in northern Wisconsin right now, though. Still a few kinks in the line over here near Interstate 49 near Bunkie, Cheneyville, and Lecompte. Very strong winds near Hayes, Louisiana right now. I'm noticing some of that rotation near Clearwater. Nothing on the ground yet. But take shelter in Cheneyville, Mansura, Marksville, Cottonport, and Bunkie. This is probably the main area I'm watching right now. Look at that kink in the line near Cheneyville and Lloyd. Definitely hook. News for winning is now actually in effect here. This is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's like no population within this because a lot of this is accompanied by a lake. Grand Lake. A lot of this warning is accompanied by a lake in some place called Big Burns, which is actually where this fire is showing up. Not much population, but there is a little bit of population down in this area down south. I'm noticing the rotation a little bit. It's pretty weak, but there's some kinks in the line that could lead to a potential tornado. So definitely be remaining in our safe spot there in East Central Cameron Parish. Okay, that rotation has tightened a lot. That is probably one of the tightest rotation signatures I've seen today. I mean, it's still not that organized. It's just a little bit more organized than some of the other ones. So if you're in Cheneyville, Belle d'Eau, Cheneyville, Mansura, Cottonport, Marksville, Bunkie, make sure you are remaining in your safe spot as there's definitely this very real tornado couplet. what I actually wanted to mention that's pretty crazy is this area that's impacted by this line of storms. If you do look at the radar right here, see this little area that's not associated with any rain right here? That is from a fire. That is smoke from a fire that's being detected on radar. And that's what's being impacted by a line of storms that's moving through right now. So a tornado warning plus a fire is pretty nuts, and that's a tornado warning plus fire. Wow. It's pretty crazy. So now I do have a tornado warning extension. So if you're on Jennings, Welsh, and Mermentau, I would be taking shelter now in areas like Lake Arthur in Louisiana. Take shelter as a tornado warning is in effect. Let's go back to this kink in the line. It's a weekend now, so it's not looking as impactful there in Cheneyville. Wildfire smoke visible on the tornado warning. All right, we still do have many storms ongoing. If you're on any of these red boxes, make sure you are in your safe spot. But I'm gonna get offline now. It's getting late. It's 9:26 p.m. where I live. So yeah, I'm gonna hop off now. I'm probably gonna leave the stream up AFK for a little bit just to show the radar. But besides that, I'm probably going to log off now. So what we are going to do is I'm just going to turn this screen off, and then I'm going to move this one like that. There we go. That works. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. Many tornado warnings still in effect, though. Wow. All right. Hopping off now. Thanks for watching, everybody. It means a lot. I'm just going to leave this AFK for a little bit, and then I'll probably end it in about 45 minutes. All right.